So here is today's This Day newspaper, Nigeria's newspaper of record. At the top of the masthead, as Mr. Ifeni likes to refer to, is the headline there, PwC, collapse of Forex market into single window led to a 98% devaluation of the Naira in 2023. So here is the report in question, at least the cover of the report. There it is. Strategy, part of the PwC network. Nigeria Economic Outlook, 7 trends that will shape the Nigerian economy in 2024. We absolutely love diving into these reports, and we're happy to have Sam Abu, who is the country senior partner for PwC Nigeria. Good morning, sir. Thanks for joining us. Happy New Year to you.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
In fact, I'd like to put up your dashboard, which I thought was amazing. You updated you had the most recent parallel market rates on your reports there. You have oil production on that dashboard, and I wanted to ask you about whether or not, there it is, 1.33 million barrels per day at the bottom left of the screen. Should we declare a state of emergency in the upstream sector of the oil and gas for Nigeria, seeing as we depend on revenue so much?
I think the question is, which sector shouldn't we declare an emergency in? Well, you're right. There certainly has to be some kind of priority in the oil sector. 43% of our revenues is budgeted to come from oil in 2024. So there clearly has to be some priority in that sector. But there are already reforms underway in that sector. The PIA has already been implemented, and there are significant conversations and dialogues still ongoing now around what still needs to happen in that sector to unlock value. We believe the PIA, if properly implemented, will significantly change the outlook in that industry. There is a fund established under the PIA for hydrocarbon exploration, as you well know. But challenges still exist, not least of which is security and the significant investment that is required to unlock further value, as well as sustainability. 1.3 million barrels per day is an improvement from the year before, but it's still a long way from the assumption of, 1.7, 1.8 in the 2024 budget. So there's still a long way to go, and certainly it deserves national attention.
Now, we have footage there of that illegal refineries being destroyed by the Navy and so on and so forth. So it ties right into what you're talking about. Let's go to foreign exchange, which is the the big topic again and again and again. A quote from your report. I am so happy that you included how much was spent in dollars on subsidies last year. So there it is, saying removal of fuel subsidies, which cost $10 billion in 2022, and the collapse of the windows led to a 98% devaluation. Can we put that in the past? Are there no consequences for that amount of money that was spent?
Obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the pains we are feeling today is as a result of actions that we've taken in the past. Subsidy. We are high debt. Our problem with debt is not unconnected to our subsidy spending in the past. Even the issues around FX liquidity is connected to that, right? We could no longer afford to subsidize fuel. It really is just as simple as that. And the decision to remove oil subsidy, even though there's still a little bit that's still there, is clearly a step in the right direction, because we just couldn't afford it anymore.
Yeah. There's a Bloomberg article that's been floating around from 2019, quoting the former CBN governor, who was talking about at the time why it's not a good idea to float the currency. But there's a headline from the Tribune on the other side. There it is. CBN spends 11.4 billion in 7 months to defend the Naira. We have to take two sides of this argument, do we not? What do you say on that? I
think we should all take a step back and think about the term defend the Naira.
Right.
It's an anomaly, right?
Yeah.
Whatever you think about liberalizing or floating, the one thing that we're clear about that is a bad idea is defending the Naira. Right? The idea that you have to defend this Naira is clearly a bad idea. We've tried it for years, and how has it helped us? So we do believe that the decision to liberalize the FX market is a step in the right direction, right? Defending the Naira was significantly depleting our FX reserves, as you well know, and that was no longer sustainable. We see that there will be some stability this year. We think that FX rates will stabilize. Obviously, we're going through a painful process right now, so we're trying to do price discovery. But ultimately, with the reforms in that sector, with clearing of the FX backlogs, with all of the action that the CBN is taking in that space, we expect there to be some stability, perhaps towards the latter half of FY24.
Okay, so thank you for mentioning the fact that we're in the period of price discovery. So Arise News was at the NESG, that's the Nigerian Economic Summit Group Macroeconomic Outlook Report, and the governor of the central bank, Yemi Cardoso, said they believe the Naira is undervalued. Now, at the same events, the country representative for the IMF, Dr. Ebeke, said that it is a tricky time to try to determine what the fair value of the Naira is. So where do you fall there? Is it on the,
This market was liberalizing, 7 months ago?
Right.
We can't expect magic to happen in 7 months, really. I think Nigerians should be prepared for, where we're coming from, 7 months is a short time to think we can turn the switch off or on, right, to address the problem. We do think that the language of the CBN and the signaling, particularly to foreign investors, is a positive one. Because what's going to drive, if you like, the FX market is confidence and investment in Nigeria, right? And until there is confidence in the market by foreign investors who believe that there is clarity in policy and there is stability in policy execution, we won't see any change. But I think that is one of the corners that we've turned this year, where foreign investors are beginning to ask questions again. For the past 8 years, they have not even been interested. But now foreign investors are taking notice and saying, okay, maybe we should start taking another look at Nigeria. So I think that augurs well for us. And clearly, I believe that by second half of 2024, we should begin to see some kind of stability in our FX.
I want to pull up your 7 trends that you talked about. And I want to touch on monetary policy because it's one of the 7 trends in your report. Yes, at the top right, number 2, evolving monetary policy stance, finding the right framework and instrument. Okay, look, we've hiked up to 18.75%. You think monetary? What's the direction when trying to arrest inflation?
The CBN is doing what it calls targeted inflation, right? Targeting inflation in terms of trying to bring it down. So I believe there's a designation of 21%. That is our target, and we want to see the extent to which we can deploy monetary policy tools to close the gap between where our inflation rate is now and what the target is of 21. And the right actions have been taken. There's open market operations. We know trying to clear backlogs, but we also suspect that there would be a hike in interest rates at the next MPC meeting. All of these are probably geared towards ensuring that that inflation number comes down. It's going to be tough and going to be hard for Nigerians in the medium to short term, but I think that we will get there because those reforms and those actions, to the extent that they are aligned with other actions of government, particularly on the fiscal side. So it's not just the monetary policy tools, but how closely aligned they are to other mechanisms that the government is deploying, particularly around revenue generation, tax, and fiscal policies.
Okay, I want to bring up your 7 trends again because you mentioned reforms that are needed to boost the sectors. I think that is number 7. Yes, improved sector at the top left of the screen for our viewers. Improved sectoral development. Right. Look, in the last segment, we just talked about the news on the Manufacturing Association. Manufacturers saying that because of the Naira, prices are going to rise, right? Because of depreciation. And maybe this is another long-term thing, but what is your view on how to get to boost production of value added? Because even Dr. Ruben Abati on the morning show was lamenting that today. How do we get there?
We have to address our infrastructure problems, right? I mean, there are many things we need to do: infrastructure, security, power, transport. You can't boost a productive sector without addressing the basic issue that you just mentioned that manufacturers face. They face forex illiquidity, security. Many factories across the country, farms across the country are closing down because of security. Until we address those fundamental issues, we will not be able to actually boost that sector. So the current year, 2024 budget has, 3.5%, about 1.3 billion, I can't remember what the number is, earmarked for defense, national security. We hope that begins to address one of the most critical challenges that we face across the country, really, which is security. But also, there has to be a large-scale industrialization of the agricultural sector in terms of backward and forward linkages and creating that value chain right from extraction to manufacturing to exports, because that's the only way we can begin to boost that sector. In addition to creating incentives for companies and products geared for the export market, rather than just extracting to sell to customers.
Your reports highlight, in fact, you've already mentioned the Petroleum Industry Act. Your report talked about, I think, expecting $14 billion in FDI, 12 billion in revenue, and then 2 million jobs. On jobs, not just for the PAI, but generally speaking. Not a day goes by that I'm sure you don't get a CV from somebody's kid who just graduated, and everybody else. How do we grow jobs?
The job growth is not unconnected with your previous question, Rotus. You can't grow jobs if the manufacturing and agricultural sectors are not growing. That the way to unlock, to create jobs in this country is to escalate significantly the productive base of the economy. Manufacturing jobs, agricultural jobs, industrialization of that sector. Obviously, you have to deal with those difficult challenges we have: security, power, transport. That's the only way we can begin to grow jobs, as well as focusing on skills development.
On power, is power the silver bullet? Because I want to give you an example. We were in Davos last week. We spoke with the Dr. Bosun Tijani, Minister of ICT and Digital Economy. He has all these plans, right? He wants to train 3 million software engineers. He says we need about $2 billion to get fiber optic channels around the country and so on and so forth. Surely, for whatever you want to do in tech, you need electricity, right? And even for the healthcare and everything else, Minister Pate, he's in Belgium, or was in Belgium, talking to healthcare folks there about the value chain. Is power not central to everything, or what do you think?
Power is strategic.
Yeah.
You cannot run an economy on diesel, right?
Right.
So power is central. If we don't get power right, then a lot of our ambitions, right, around economic development will be hard to achieve. So you're right. Maybe not. I won't call it a silver bullet, but one of several silver bullets that we need to deploy.
Right.
The Electricity Act gives states the authority to generate and distribute power. That is, again, another step in the right direction. Maybe that will help us boost that sector. But if you think about it, we're a long way from where we need to be. We have, the master plan has, our target is 30 gigawatts by 2030. 6 years away.
From now, yeah.
We are less than 6.
Yeah.
And the investment that is required to get there is, $3 billion. We are nowhere near that. So power is certainly a sector that requires significant investment. So,
still on power, we have electricity subsidies, and we had a special report where we looked at, I remember Minister Adelabu saying that, President Tinubu doesn't want to remove subsidies in electricity because they've already collapsed the window for FX. They've already removed fuel subsidies, and that could heighten cost of living struggles for Nigerians. So how do you marry that decision with trying to get more investment in the power sector?
That is one of the dilemmas that the government has to face. Yeah. On the one hand, you want to attract investors, but you've got to balance that with the pressures that people are facing. So maybe it's a phased approach. We're not doing too much too soon.
Right.
We've taken out oil subsidies, FX subsidies. Maybe power might be one too many for the common man on the street. So I can understand the difficulty and the challenge in trying to balance. I want investment, right? But also, we don't want to create a situation where more people fall into poverty. Yeah. So that's a particularly difficult challenge.
I apologize for my obsession with power, but just one more before we move. Lagos State has no issues attracting investment. It's the commercial capital. Do you worry about other states? Of them being able to attract for this Electricity Act?
Absolutely. Other states, there has to be balance across the country. Yeah. When you talked about job creation, those jobs are not going to be created in Lagos. They're going to be created right across the country. So all of those investments are required everywhere else. And so those states all have to step up to be able to attract those investments and assure investors of returns, their returns on those investments.
You already touched on security, but I mean, you've seen what's going on in plateau states, so on and so forth. How would investors be taking this in terms of what the impact that, insecurity is having?
I think, to paraphrase a colleague of mine, it has the most paralyzing effect on our economy, security. And it is the one big thing that we need to turn the dial on very quickly. I think about agriculture, food security. Everything has almost ground to a halt because of security, right? And it affects every aspect of our economy, from agriculture to manufacturing to food production to even tourism and transport. So that is something that needs that certainly needs attention. Like I said before, maybe what's been earmarked in the 2024 budget for defense suggests to me that the government is taking it seriously and wants to do something, but we're still not seeing the results yet. But again, these problems did not start today, so we don't expect it to be resolved so quickly. But I think we're moving in the right direction. And hopefully 2024 would show some improvement in that space.
We will end it on that optimistic note. Mr. Sam Abu, Country Senior Partner at PwC Nigeria, thank you so much for this great report and talking to us about it.